Your objective 10-minute update of world news starts now. I'm Carl Azus, and this is CNN 10. First story we're explaining today involves trouble in northern Iraq between two groups that were allied with each other in the fight against ISIS. Kirkuk is an important city in the region that's rich in oil. When ISIS swept to power in 2014, Iraqi forces abandoned Kirkuk, and it came under the control of the Kurds, an ethnic group in the area that's helped the Iraqi government and the U.S. battle ISIS terrorists. So what's happening there now? In late September, the Kurds held a controversial referendum. They voted for independence, and they claimed Kirkuk as part of their own territory. That's something the Iraqi government did not accept. And earlier this week, it sent troops to take over the city and some other Kurdish-held territory in the region. In the confrontation between the Kurds and the Iraqi military around Kirkuk, Kurdish officials say at least 16 Kurdish fighters were killed and dozens were wounded. The United Nations estimates that more than 61,000 people were forced to leave their homes in the area. The instability between the Kurds and the Iraqi government is an international dilemma. Just as there are a number of reasons why many Kurds want to be independent, there are a number of reasons why Iraq and several other countries don't want them to be.
They are an ethnic group spread across the Middle East. They've got their own language, their own culture and history. There are about 25 to 30 million of them. The majority are Sunni Muslims living in Kurdish regions in Iran and Iraq, Syria and Turkey. Well, Kurds were largely nomadic until the end of World War I, which saw the breakup of the Ottoman Empire. As borders were redrawn across the Arab world, there were calls for an independent Kurdistan, but those never materialized, and Kurds became increasingly marginalized in their own countries. Well, in 1988, former Iraqi President Saddam Hussein used chemical weapons on Iraqi Kurds who opposed his regime. Tens of thousands of civilians and Kurdish rebels were killed. Iraq granted Kurds autonomy in 2005 after the fall of Saddam. In recent years, Kurdish fighters known as Peshmerga have also been on the front lines in the fight against ISIS in Iraq and in Syria. Military might has brought with it greater political leverage, but an independent Kurdish state will likely not happen anytime soon. Regional powers like Turkey and Iran are a definitive no, both having fought Kurdish separatists over the years, and even Western global powers aren't that keen. They're worried about the instability such a move could spark.
10-second trivia. Which of these historical sites in Jerusalem is the oldest? Western Wall, Dome of the Rock, Church of St. Anne, or Church of the Holy Sepulchre? Of these options, the Western or Wailing Wall, which was likely built around the 2nd or 1st century BC, is the oldest. At the end of the day, in the U.S. stock market, the Dow Jones Industrial Average has never closed higher than 23,000 points, at least not before yesterday. That's when it reached a new record, closing at 23,157 points. It had gained 160 points during the day. What does this mean? For one thing, it means stocks are up. The Dow is an average of 30 significant stocks. Companies like Apple, Home Depot, McDonald's, Nike, and Walmart are all in it. When the Dow is up, it's a sign the U.S. stock market's up. And when the stock market's up, it's one indicator of good health in the U.S. economy. Though the Federal Reserve says wages, another economic indicator, are not doing as well. The Dow has set a string of records this year. It hit 22,000 for the first time in August. It can be influenced by uncertainty about the future and events in the news, from natural disasters to legislation by Congress. Our next story, especially if you were an artist, you're probably very familiar with the works of Johannes Vermeer and Claude Monet. How about Han van Meegeren and John Myatt? It's true they're also artists, but they achieved world recognition by forging art, fraudulently copying it, and passing it off as original masterworks. While that is illegal, there is a way in which a world-class art forger could make a lawful living, and it's today's great big story. Irene Sewell is a former ballroom dancer, a current runner, and an employee at a physical therapy office. All that may factor into the Guinness World Record she just set. While dancing, she learned to move quickly and precisely in high heels. While running, she got in shape for a marathon. And because she just ran a marathon in high heels, her record finish of 7 hours, 28 minutes documented in this Facebook video, physical therapy may help her recover. Because even though she earned the record, she still knows the agony of defeat. It's no small feat that she put her best foot forward to step across that finish line after staying on her toes the whole race. Of course, she may need time to heal, but with 2 minutes to spare, she was a shoo-in for the record. I'm Carl Azuz, and that's CNN 10.